Hey, I've been watching a lot of movies this summer. Let's talk about that. Hello, everybody. Sorry for the not ideal lighting or sound quality, but as I film this video, I am out of town, and as I upload it, I'll be out of town. Not for long, just on a little bit of a vacation thing. And I realize it's been a minute since I uploaded. So, I figured, why not? I do something a little different. We're gonna do a Purpock Ponders with a bunch of mini reviews. Woo! Woo! Party noises. I had a couple movies I've seen lately and a big bunch that just kind of came out that I saw around the same time because, it's summer all of a sudden and lots of stuff's coming out. So I figured, make things easy on myself, I'd do one big video where I review a bunch of stuff that I'd been meaning to, as well as some things that I was interested enough to talk about, but didn't really feel like dedicating the time to make a whole video about, or didn't think people would be that interested. Anyway, we're going to talk about some movies today. Starting with everybody's favorite animated movie that no one has gone to see, Elio.
Gordon? Hi, Dad. I'm a bargaining chip. No, say the other thing. Oh, help me, Father.
I enjoyed Elio. I think that it's a good movie. I think it's worth seeing in theaters if there's even a little bit of curiosity inside you about it. But I also completely understand a lot of the people who are just like, I don't care, I don't want to go see it. And it's also kind of hard not to have conflicting feelings about it, since in the last day or two, more information's come out about how the film was seriously reworked during development. There was a test screening early on with a draft where Elio was like an overtly queer-coded character, and there were like different messages to this thing. And then some executives from within Pixar, not even Disney, made the decision that that was a bad idea. Just like a whole bunch of people like leaving the company from that decision. Lots of shitty stuff. Disney and Pixar are going through like a rough period right now. Not financially, just creatively. That all said, I do like Elio. Between the two sci-fi family films that Disney has out in theaters right now, 10,000% I'd encourage you to see Elio over the Lilo and Stitch remake. I mean, that should be obvious for a number of reasons, even if you haven't seen my review of the Lilo and Stitch remake. But anyway, I'm not going into too much spoilers or anything. This Elio, it could have had more concrete focus. I think that's one of my biggest problems with it. I think it's super, super sweet and extremely cute, and it's, pretty good looking. The animation itself is nice, and the render quality and just like all the little details are great. I'm actually really annoyed with how many people have been comparing this movie's style to the Grubhub ad. Like, I understand some people don't like the bean mouth, and a handful of recent-ish Pixar movies have adopted similar styles, but it feels dismissive. I guess that's my fault for looking for any kind of genuine discourse on Twitter. Like, there's a lot of discourse around this movie, and I get why, but it's just kind of sad that that's most of what exists around it, because, like, it's Pixar's biggest financial flop, and it doesn't seem to be recovering that well. There's a chance it still could, but it hasn't even broken 100 million yet, and that's just sad. For a movie about like a lonely little boy looking for his place in the world, I can't lie, it's kind of fucked up to see how many people are just like, I don't give a shit about this stupid kid. Like, again, part of me gets it, but at the same time, it's weird. People will show up and give hundreds of millions of dollars to like shitty remakes like Lilo and Stitch, or the live-action How to Train Your Dragon, which I am not reviewing, by the way. Fuck that. And frankly, if you go to see that, what's your problem? Second, the thing I can't, get straight in my head about all of this is, I get it. Original ideas aren't doing as well as, recognized IPs right now. But if Disney can, market the shit out of, the Lilo and Stitch remake and Snow White and all this whatever, all this garbage, then why is it they can't make that miracle happen again for Pixar? I know that they don't control the world or whatever, but as the largest media company in the world who constantly rakes in millions of dollars for actual dog shit movies in the last few years, I'm actually kind of shocked that they cannot, for the life of them, push an original movie. Like, the fact that they had to put out, like, that TikTok, like that official TikTok thing, where someone was, like, pretending, basically, to be an average viewer upset that people aren't seeing Elio, when it's, like, the company itself complaining that no one goes to see the movie that they didn't advertise very well. I don't know. Feels kind of weird and backhanded. I'm mostly ranting about the movie and how it was distributed, how it's been received, but that feels like it's been most of the discourse. For the record, I enjoy it. I enjoyed Elio. It's cute. Again, worth seeing and sweet. That's all I really have to say about it. While there are little things about it that make it better and worse than other Pixar movies, and, you know, I like it better than certain more recent Pixar movies, but about the same as pretty much most of the other ones. I don't have a lot to say about it. Again, I'd recommend it, but just... If Pixar really wants to, like, make classics again, they need to take risks. And I really think that's the case. If the version of Elio we've got now is supposed to be, like, the comfortable commercial one that was easier or, like, lighter on their conscience or whatever to make and sell to try and achieve a bigger success because they didn't believe that those themes would, you know, be interesting or pertinent to a general audience. Like, the version you made that's supposed to be safe fucking flopped anyway. It's the biggest flop you've ever had. Again. So really, why not just make the original, right? Why not make the risky one and put it out there? You guys can take those risks. You have, like, all the money and all of the, like, publicity, and just, like, make a movie and, like, don't change it because you think it's not a movie for everyone. Because you keep doing that and it keeps fucking ruining your movies. Just make a movie again. Make the vision of the artist, and then maybe you'll have something that grabs people a little harder than just, it was alright. Because while it is unfortunate that a good original movie like this is failing, they spent $300 million, like $200 million on this, like, fairly familiar premise, especially for their own company. And they're, like, surprised people don't want to see it when there's so much competition. Elio is good. It's worth watching. It's sad that it's failing, but its failure is also not surprising. Not at all. Especially not when another movie that I wanted to talk about today came out on the exact same day and was generally agreed upon to be a lot more interesting. K-pop Demon Hunters.
Yeah, this one's trashed.
This coming out on the same day as Elio probably wasn't what really doomed Elio, but it feels like the extra nail in the coffin. But I don't want to be too negative about it because I want to be positive about the success of this. I'm so happy to see that K-pop Demon Hunters has, like, exploded. Like, I liked it. I liked it a lot. I didn't, like, love it, but I thought it was really good. And I've been, like, watching the project to what extent I could since they'd announced it, like, a couple of years ago. I almost thought it was dead. Like, they said, oh, this is going to happen in a few years. They went dead silent on this project for a long time. And then all of a sudden, like 2 months before it comes out, we get this Netflix trailer. And I was like, straight to Netflix. That's unfortunate. But, hey, now lots of people are seeing it, I guess. And it did apparently get a very, very, very limited theatrical run. I didn't see it playing anywhere near me, but that's neat. Okay, that all said, this is the best this is like the most that Sony Pictures Animation has cooked in a hot minute. Like, it looks great. The writing's got some messy parts. I feel like to some extent this story must have been changed in development a few times because certain plot points feel a little more rushed to me than others, but all the things that this movie does well, it does really well. The animation is like spectacular. It's incredibly expressive. Everyone's been talking about all the anime influence. I saw a lot of 2000s anime and anime influenced media in this. Like, there's clearly like generations of people who grew up watching, you know, Shonen and Sailor Moon and all kinds of stuff, but whoever, like someone on this team very clearly loves like the Powerpuff Girls and Totally Spies, like that very specific, slightly more recent turn of the century kind of anime stuff. And I don't know anything about K-pop or that kind of fan culture outside of what I know through general cultural osmosis, but I love how so many people are treating Huntrix and the Saja Boys like they're real artists. Their music is blowing the fuck up on Spotify. While I was watching this movie, I was like, in like a week or two, I better see all of these on the global Spotify. And I was like half joking, but I was kind of hopeful. And then it actually happened, so good job, everybody. Like, some people are kind of getting down on it, because I guess it's at that point where it's so popular that, like, everyone's like, why do people like this thing? I don't like this thing. This is cringe. So, you know, a lot of people are pushing back on it now, I guess, but a lot of people are loving this, and I've just been happy to see such an explosively positive reception for this, especially considering how weak and cold the reception generally was for Elio. I'm not trying to shit on Elio, I'm really not, but it kind of throws it into perspective when the same day this, like, 2 original animated movies come out. One of them, people are just kind of like, eh. The other one, people are like, just they can't stop talking about it. They're fascinated and interested by all the little details and the interesting, more serious plot points about it, without wishing to spoil too much. I've seen so many people present different interpretations and theories about the othering messaging of this movie. Like, are the demons really all that evil? And can you change what's wrong with you? And is what's wrong with you ultimately something you can't fix? And, like, can you learn to love yourself if you have all of these flaws about you? And I've seen so many people interpret it as, like, you know, being queer or being like an unwanted or unplanned child. And, like, these characters, like these main characters in Huntrix have, like, so quickly become like these beloved people that we just kind of want to see more of. There's already talks of, like, a potential sequel, maybe like a series, and, like, I was watching this with my girlfriend when we watched it, and like, we were both thinking that this would be a good setup for a series, because while it is a self-contained film, it clearly has, like, more lore and, like, plot stuff that it would love to, like, expand on, that, like, clearly exists inside, like, the writers and the animators' brains, but they, like, couldn't do it because, I don't know, they didn't have time or something. Like, great movie, full of tons of little things to appreciate, all the characters, the animation. I like pretty much almost all the songs. This is what it sounds like. That stuff's great. But I don't know. My biggest complaint with it, I guess, is that I just wish there was more of it, and that's generally a pretty good complaint to have about something. So, hey, it's worth checking out if you haven't seen it. Like, the title basically tells you everything you need to know in case you don't have an idea what this movie is about, but simultaneously, again, without spoiling, it's also kind of a trick, because while that is a lot of the movie, it's surprisingly more dialogue and character driven than I expected, and slightly less silly for a good chunk of its runtime than I expected. And again, none of this is a bad thing. It was just something I didn't anticipate. You still get tons of silly, like, anime wackiness and, like, tokusatsu shonen-esque martial arts action and, like, mystical, spiritual stuff. But I was surprised by just how much of it is these characters talking to each other and exploring each other's feelings. And I appreciate all of that. I appreciate the rough edges, as the movie kind of puts itself in as Matt Braley pointed out. So yeah, if you haven't checked out K-pop Demon Hunters, check that out. I'm spending a while on some of these, so let's go through a few of these real quick. Some of these I don't have as much to say about. Let's do another animated one real quick. Predator Killer of Killers.
There's only one way to kill it. We must fight.
This was good. I don't think I liked it quite as much as everybody else did, and it took me a while to get used to the animation. In case you weren't aware, it's like an animated anthology film with 3 stories, and the whole movie was animated in Unreal Engine. I'm not sure which version. It might have been an older version. The whole time I was watching it, it was kind of hard for me to shake the idea of why does this look like every video game from the 2010s? But I learned the Unreal Engine thing after the fact, and it recontextualized the whole thing. I was like, that explains everything. But if you can like get past that, like it's not even like it makes the visuals bad. It's just weird for my brain, considering how many games I've played and movies I've watched. I'm just like, you know, the frame rate differences between those things are generally kind of separate. So it took me a minute to get used to the animation style. That said, this is the same guy who directed Prey, the last movie in the Predator franchise, and he's apparently directing the new live-action one that's coming out this year. And this was just like a little bonus they threw on Hulu. But this was lots of fun. 3 individual stories with different predators in each, culminating in a pretty interesting climax that I won't spoil. Different protagonists in each, different time periods in each, and you get to deal with like different ways people approach the predator and slightly different ways in which these stories are presented. Like the second one is like almost completely free of dialogue. The first one does a little bit of a bait and switch where you think it's about this kid, but really it's about his mother. And then the third one takes place in World War II during like an unconventional part of World War II you don't normally see shown in media. There's lots of little things like that. And like the kills and like the creativity of the gadgets and stuff, some of these are brutal. I think the first segment is my favorite one with the Viking lady. There's like a long take action scene early on that I thought was kind of fucking awesome. And there's a lot of good scenes like that throughout, but that was the one that really stuck out to me. It's a pretty easy throw on and watch kind of movie. Just watch it with your buddies, drunk or something, and be like, whoa, no, well, shit, rip that guy's head off. And like, that'll be fun. And it has some stuff to appreciate if you've seen Prey, and it might be building things up for like Predator Badlands, I think the new one is called. So if you're interested, check it out. But if this doesn't seem like your cup of tea, it probably won't be. And if you don't have Hulu, sorry, can't see it. Oh yeah, not bad. Kind of got lost in the shuffle of a few other things, but I wanted to give that a quick shout out. What else is good that I can talk about quick? Oh, this might be a little controversial, but Materialists. I really liked Materialists.
You're the matchmaker. You want a drink?
Sure. Coke and beer.
Hey, buddy.
Hi, John.
I was really, really surprised by how much I enjoyed Materialists. It'll probably move around as the year goes on, but it's kind of high up my list of movies I've seen this year so far. I don't know. I haven't seen Past Lives. I don't know much about Celine Song's direction or writing. And the last Dakota Johnson movie I saw her in was Madam Web. So, you know, I wasn't exactly expecting a masterpiece, but the cast got me interested, and, you know, the prestige, the director got me interested, so I checked it out. And to my surprise, my girlfriend, who watched it with me, thought it was only kind of alright, while I thought it was really good. I won't go on long about this, but I'm just intrigued by how many people seem to hate this movie. I guess a lot of people just could not get down with the premise. A lot of people seem to hate the dialogue. And, I don't know, I guess some people were just kind of hoping for a more traditional romantic comedy, which the advertising for this movie really tricks you into thinking it is. And while I would have really liked a nice traditional romantic something or other, I appreciated this a lot for what it is. And I've seen some reasonable criticism of how it might not be the most realistic thing, because the whole huge bunch of this story is like, living is expensive, modern dating is expensive, and like living in New York, it's hard to like choose living for like poor for years and years if it's gonna lock me in this relationship and all these things. And some people have been like, do you know how much money you'd make if you had this job or if you lived in this area? And, you know, fair complaints. But despite all that, I really still enjoyed this a lot. I was surprised by Dakota Johnson's performance. I don't think she's amazing or anything, but she fits this character surprisingly well. A jaded cynic who still, in like the bottom of the pit of her heart, kind of believes in like idealistic love, but doesn't really want to believe in it, and also sees her parents in her mind arguing whenever she has to think about money in a relationship. And while a lot of this is cynical and very specific and all that, it's not entirely untrue. Modern dating is a disaster. Meeting people is hard. Talking to people is hard. If you're like trying to advance your career and keep a serious relationship going at the same time, depending on where you live, it can be easier or harder. Depending on who you're with, it can be easier or harder. That's part of the reason that this doesn't really feel like a I don't know, some people just seem to think this movie is bullshit or unrealistic or just like too cynical, and it's like, again, all fair reasons to not like it, but I don't know, I appreciated that lens, because at the same time it doesn't feel like a totally like cynical, there is no hope for love, chivalry is dead kind of thing. The thing that got me a lot was some people being like, this is poor man propaganda in this economy. It's like, listen, if you don't want to date someone because they can't support you financially, that is a completely understandable thing. I also think it's reasonable to just love someone because you love them, and realize that living with them may come with its own, you know, setbacks because of the world you live in. And that's part of the reason I don't see this as like the offensive thing some people seem to think it is. Because like it's one movie, first of all. One movie does not make all opinions on everything, let alone like any topic they choose to cover. There's so many other romance movies with different, equally valid takes on romance and modern dating. So there's that. And two, while it is, yes, very cynical and a little messy in certain places, it doesn't like end with like a there is no hope kind of ending. Again, I'm probably getting close to spoilers here, but it feels like there is a reason to hang on to love in this world kind of ending. You can choose to be happy and be with the person you care about, and like it doesn't have to be like the super rich guy or the super poor guy necessarily either. It can just be who you love, if you know that you love them, and if you're willing to work through that. And I don't know, I liked that. Aside from the fact that it has some messy details and it feels like it ends like 3 or 4 times, I enjoyed Materialists a lot. Maybe my opinion would change on a rewatch, but I don't know, check it out if you can. If you're looking for something a little different than a typical romance movie or rom-com, I'd say it's worth a shot. Okay, what's next? Okay, I'll do this one real quick. Friendship with Tim Robinson.
If your love is strong,
I can see the future. It's full of pals. I'm on the edge of life, and the view is gorgeous.
Look, we had a couple of really nice hangs, but I think it best that we go our separate ways.
This doesn't really count as a summer movie because I saw it in like May and it came out a little bit before late May. Whatever, I'll be quick about this one. It is really good. It's a really good comedy. It's a better story about what it's like to be an awkward guy that cannot like open up. Just like can't. Like Tim Robinson is so good at playing these these weirdos, these freakazoids in all of his skits. And seeing that kind of character applied to a largely normal, like, straight man kind of world where it's largely grounded in reality. His character is still funny, but it mostly just becomes sad. And what I appreciate is that the movie is aware of that. Like, that's not a mistake. It's not like, isn't this funny? No, it's depressing. Like a shitty Happy Madison movie or something. You feel bad for his character, but you're also like, why is he making the decisions that he's making? You feel bad for him on the level that he's like lonely and trying to like connect with his family, and when he can't do it in the way he really wants to, like try and make a meaningful like friendship as a man and as an adult. And then it gets messier and messier. It's interesting. I saw a lot of people comparing it to Punch Drunk Love, which actually made me watch Punch Drunk Love. Let me say, Punch Drunk Love is amazing. Has nothing to do with any of these movies, but that's like a 10 out of 10 movie I saw recently. I didn't know Adam Sandler could act. But anyway, it's like, I saw people saying, oh, this does for Tim Robinson, Friendship does what Punch Drunk Love did for Adam Sandler. Like, it contextualizes those like sad comedy characters these actors play. It kind of shows them as like a more realistic, vulnerable version of that person who's kind of broken on the inside in some ways. I can see the similarity, but Punch Drunk Love is more of like a romance story where the main character is like a nice person who also just kind of happens to be potentially neurodivergent and like dealing with some sort of mental and emotional like baggage. That exists in Friendship, but it really seems more like there's just something wrong with the guy on a fundamental level, and that he's also just kind of unlucky, and that some bad decisions have like fucked him over. And that's like the bulk of the movie. It has a really independent film feel to it. Not much of a typical structure, just kind of like someone's living their life and things escalate until it sort of like peters out and concludes in its own way. And, that was refreshing. And while I wasn't laughing the whole time, the stuff that made me laugh had me like dying. I will not dare spoil it, but there's an amazing drug trip sequence in this movie where, like, once it happens, you're like, did that really just happen? And it's an interesting example of a bold swing, but I like it. Yeah, great comedy. Even better, psychological thriller about a guy who doesn't know how to open up to his wife or share his feelings with his male peers. Much too relatable at times. It was horrifying and made my stomach twist. Good movie, watch it. Alright, I had to stop recording so I could do the second part of this. Alright, we're getting down to the last few movies on this list. Keep going through these. Yeah, okay, 3 more. Let's do another quick one, and then we'll do the last 2 that I really wanted to talk about. The Phoenician Scheme, the new Wes Anderson movie. It's great!
Rescue workers are laboring to recover and identify the remains of Zsa Zsa Corda, international businessman, maverick in the fields of armaments and aviation, among the richest men in Europe.
I don't know how I can really elaborate on this one too much. I feel like the last handful of Wes Anderson movies, I think all of which I've seen in theaters, have been good, and I've liked them, but there was something missing, like a certain bite. Like, a lot of people were starting to say, I guess, that like his movies felt almost too soft, even when there was like serious stuff happening in them. And the addition of a little more active action and danger and immediate threat into a Wes Anderson narrative isn't something I realized I missed until it was back here in the Phoenician Scheme. Like, it took me a minute to get back into the feel of it, because every time I watch a new Wes Anderson movie, I'm like, ooh, the style is so nice, but it takes me a minute to like adjust to the way his characters speak. Like the bluntness and the frankness of so much of it, where like a good half of the dialogue, were it not for like the excellent delivery, would kind of feel just like blatant, undisguised exposition about character stuff. Granted, a lot of that just comes in the beginning, a lot of his movies, with like the big casts he has to introduce. I don't know where I'd put this in my personal rankings of Wes Anderson movies, but I guess the point I'm trying to get here to in a long, drawn-out way is that I liked it a lot, and that I haven't felt this kind of tension in a Wes Anderson story since, like, The Grand Budapest Hotel, where there were, like, actually dangerous antagonists kind of pursuing our characters, rather than just sort of being, like, an outside force pushing down on them sort of thing. Like Asteroid City, or, to an extent, The French Dispatch. I like the French Dispatch more than this, I think. But I appreciated the smaller cast so we could focus on the characters more. I liked pretty much all the characters in this. Michael Cera, everything he does in this movie is exceptional. Every single thing he does in this is either hilarious or just fascinating to watch. Benicio del Toro is great. Everyone else is great. And just generally, I liked this story a lot more than a lot of the last couple Wes Anderson movies I've seen. More moving pieces, but more of a focus on a smaller set of characters. So I could connect a little more emotionally than I did with something like Asteroid City, where there was a lot going on, but not as much of an emotional anchor. It was my girlfriend's first Wes Anderson movie, and she really loved it, and both my parents really loved it. We all saw it together. Generally, it's been like a big pleaser with everyone I've watched it with. So if you haven't seen it already, absolutely check this one out. And again, if people think Wes Anderson movies have gotten a little too pastel soft, this one's full of like actual blood and like a couple deaths and like hand grenades and like coping with mortality and stuff. So if that's up your alley, I say go for it. It worked for me. And like the first shot of the movie is a guy like exploding. That sweetens the pot for you. Alright, we're almost to the end here. Alright, let's talk about the last big good one before I get to the extra special surprise at the end. 28 years later. This was excellent.
Try, to think of something different. Oh, my God, keep me from going lunatic. Falling up and down again. That's all the charge in the world. 7, 6, 11, 5, 4, 17, 32 the day before.
A lot like Materialists, I feel like the marketing for this movie was intentionally misleading. Like, the way a lot of the trailers looked for this, it was going to be like a typical, mostly action-oriented zombie movie. But, for like those early trailers on, I was really intrigued to see this. So, in preparation, I watched 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later for the first time. Because, you know, those came before and I had no context, and I'd never seen another Danny Boyle movie either. So I needed something to help me with that. So I watched 28 Days Later. I loved it. Great, fantastic fucking movie, that original. Fantastic. I watched 28 Weeks Later. Hated it, honestly. I thought it was a terrible sequel. Really just kind of like a schlocky Hollywood piece of crap, is all it really felt like to me. And then that kind of left this new one up in the air to be anything. Like, it could be good, it could be bad. It looked interesting from the trailer, so I just sat and waited. And to my surprise, it's turned out to be like a big success. Like, apparently we're getting a sequel, maybe 2 sequels. One's already shot and like set to come out in January. And then this movie by itself was excellent, and also nothing like 28 Weeks Later, except in like a few small plot points where it almost felt like Danny Boyle, who didn't direct 28 Weeks Later, like rewatched it and was like, you know, there were some good bits in there, but let me try that myself. Let me try that again, but not shit this time. Like, you think the whole movie is going to be about this father and his son leaving their isolated community and going onto the mainland and dealing with zombies. You think that's going to be like the whole thing. But it's kind of a bait and switch. Again, this is like the extra no spoilers for this one, but this movie went in so many interesting directions that I did not anticipate. And while it was a lot less full of action and like overt horror scenes than I was expecting, I honestly found it like enjoyable and refreshing in that way. Like, not just based on like other movies that have like come out lately in the last couple of years, or even other zombie movies, though it is nice to see this kind of approach to it. It's like, even within this series itself, the first movie is like brutal and sad as hell, but there's like a pretty strong glimmer of hope at the end, and there's bits of levity scattered throughout. 28 Weeks Later is like a lot more like gory and violent, and it almost presents the idea of hope for a cure, but that kind of goes nowhere. And like, for all it tries, it's just kind of a generic zombie movie with just kind of a lame vibe and a whatever sense to most of everything. This movie feels like the logical extension of like the tone of the original 28 Days Later, but if in fact the conflict did stretch for 28 years. It's less of a everything is screwed and nothing's getting better, so why try kind of dystopia, and more of a, if we do not stop every now and then to acknowledge how bad things have gotten, and to acknowledge that we wade knee deep in the dead and that so many die young and unfortunately tragically around us. Like, if we don't stop to acknowledge those things, then what's the point of surviving? Like, things are only completely fucked when we've stopped like trying to make them better, when we've just agreed that everything's fucked and that we've grown numb to atrocity or like the loss of a loved one or just loss of life. We become numb to that. What's the point? If we can't hold on to our humanity, why try and maintain humanity? And then also, cool zombie shit, sick ass editing, lots of great music and score, and just like creepy, cool, sweet, emotional, fucking raw stuff. Like, again, I've hardly seen any Danny Boyle movies. At this point, the only two I've seen are 28 Days Later and 28 Years Later. But he's still got it. Woof. That man is giving us like fresh new takes on old classics. This doesn't feel like a bait and switch to trick the audience to like deceive them and make money kind of way. This feels like a lure them in with one thing, give them another thing kind of situation, where I got what I wanted and what I expected, but also a lot more of stuff I didn't expect that I also really loved, maybe more than what I did expect to get. And these sequels, I'm on board. It seems like Danny Boyle is basically making this his equivalent to like his Mad Max universe. Like, this is his time to come back and expand this world. And you know what? I'm all for it. That ending was kind of weird, but knowing that the sequel is coming makes it better. And I'm intrigued to see what they do with those characters and those ideas. And yeah, one of the big surprises of the year for me so far. Genuinely fantastic movie. And I'm happy to see it succeeding. Yeah, it is a sequel with like name recognition for sure, but it's also kind of original in a lot of what it does. And for a horror movie with such a bleak tone in so many ways, it's interesting to see people engaging with it and actually enjoying it. It's nice, especially with all this like discourse lately about original movies like failing or being ignored. They're still doing better in a lot of ways than they would have been like 10 years ago. It's just hard sometimes when there's big, high-profile failures. It can take away from a lot of the comparatively lower-profile successes. So yeah, absolutely see 28 Years Later. You don't even really need to see 28 Days Later or 28 Weeks Later to understand it. It would help, at least the first movie. But yeah, you could probably go in blind and enjoy this a lot. Big, strong, high recommendation for me. Also, it's finally British again. The second movie wasn't British enough. Fuck off. I want the most English zombie movie of all time, and I want it here right now. And then 28 days later shows up. Alright, we're almost done here. Gone through most of the stuff I cared about. All the big summer movies that have come out so far. Maybe I'll do another one of these if I see a bunch of stuff and I want to talk about it again. But okay. Alright, yeah. One last movie on this list that I wanted to talk about. I saved one more animated movie for last, and I definitely saved the worst for last. A lot of people have been mean to Elio, and I understand if people don't like it. And, you know, I also understand if people don't really like K-pop Demon Hunters. That's fair. But people, the scant few I've seen who are saying, oh, these are just bad movies, really very bad movies. Animation is just not great right now. I feel like maybe your tune would be a little different if you had watched Sneaks, like I did. Yes, I watched the Shoe movie. Please help me.
Once a year, sneakerheads come together for the largest convention this side of the Hudson River.
The Sneakerhead Gala.
These shoes, they're gonna change everything. Stay right here.
Ah! A foot! He put his foot inside me!
I like him.
Okay, Sneaks. Let's talk about Sneaks. I saw the trailer for this movie in front of The Day the Earth Blew Up months and months ago, and I was so deathly curious about how bad it was probably going to be that I considered seeing it in theaters. I didn't, but I really considered it. Bought a ticket on my Regal Unlimited and anything, just didn't show up. I decided I had better things to do that day, which was the right thing to do. I had work to do. But once it came to digital on demand for a reasonable price that wasn't $20 to rent, I rented it, I sat down, and I watched the whole thing to give it an honest shake. Because I thought it looked awful, and pretty much everyone I knew who saw the trailer for it thought it looked awful. Because it just looked like a shittier modern version of Toy Story, but with talking shoes. And that is exactly what it is. I'm sorry. I'm sorry everyone who worked on it. I'm sorry every animator, every actor. I'm sorry. I tried to give Sneaks a fair shot. And I have definitely seen like worse animated movies. But this is still really fucking bad. Like, it should simultaneously say a lot and a little and very little that this is really low on my movies of the year list so far, but at the same time, it's not even my worst or second worst movie of the year so far. Like, oof. There's a lot to unpack. I don't even know how much of it is worth unpacking, but like the biggest problem with this movie overall is the fact that it tries. And that sounds weird, right? Like this movie about talking shoes with all this like product placement and like celebrity executive producer. This is like a movie that's actually trying. You're pulling my leg, right? I wish I was. I honestly wish I was, because like, the weirdest thing about this movie is for how like creatively bankrupt it is on most of its ideas, and like how familiar and generic and played out this premise is. I mean, Toy Story, like the idea of like the hidden society and like we can make things better for a human, all that shit. It is literally a 30-year-old concept at this point, and we're still getting shitty movies that are worse versions of it. It's insane. Who greenlit this movie? Like, genuinely. Who threw the money at this to make it happen? Even if on a base level there's like a cute idea of a good pair of shoes can help someone achieve their dreams, which, you know, isn't a bad message, they don't handle it all that great. Like, it simultaneously feels like a movie where they wanted to tell an impactful emotional story that would mean something to children and probably would have meant something to like a younger version of the writer or the director. You know, like there's something there. It's just in the execution where everything flops. Almost all of the jokes are unfunny or like groan worthy. The character designs are almost all like bad or forgettable. Like the character writing is back and forth. The humans in this story have almost nothing to do with like the plot. When it's almost like the Emoji Movie, where it's like, oh, we gotta get these two shoes back to this kid before his big basketball game. I almost said baseball. I really had to think. I've been talking for a while, and the shoe movie is killing me. But like, the main thing that gets to you is just how like prolonged this movie is. It's less than 90 minutes, and it feels like every single scene they had to find some way to stretch it out so that this could make it to feature length. Just like endless plotting dialogue, boring, slow conversation scenes. There's like a recurring gag, or like they try to make it a gag, where like every time they need to get information out of a character, they'll like take a long time to tell them or make them do something extra, and then the main characters will be like, you could have just told us. Yeah, I guess we could. And they do that like 4 times, and it's not funny. It's never funny. Because you can feel the movie wasting your time, like, on purpose. Just so it can be long enough. Like, and like, just the, oh my god. It's every cliche you'd expect. It's like the, you lied to me? Liar betrayed. It's like, one like the brother of the shoes thinks he knows what he wants, and the sister of the shoes siblings thinks she knows what she wants, and they both discover that they wanted more than they thought, but mostly the brother. I don't know why it focuses on the brother between these two siblings. The sister is genuinely much more interesting to be around and more likable. The brother is like a whiny bitch who doesn't want to do anything, and he just kind of gets dragged around for the first half of the story by this character who's kind of taking advantage of his kindness, but also not. Liar betrayed again. And that guy is played by Martin Lawrence, phoning it in harder than I think I've ever seen Martin Lawrence do it before, and he is good at phoning it in. Like, I don't know how they got half this cast, because these actors are all like serious actors, and they cannot save this material. The voice acting is really inconsistent. Some of it's fine, some of it's really bad, like Martin Lawrence. And shit, Lawrence Fishburne was in this movie. I couldn't recognize him until I checked that it was him. Like, there's some like genuine, like, esteemed, great actors in here, and they're all fucking just like phoning it in, either because they had no direction, or it was just for a paycheck, because it's a movie about talking shoes. Like whatever potential this project had, they clearly didn't seize it. It is almost exactly what you'd expect it to be based on the trailer if you've seen it, but maybe worse. It's not without some value. Again, it's not like a totally worthless, cynical product. The main problem with it is just that it's made really badly by people who were seemingly trying to make a good movie, but just kind of messed up a lot. Like, none of it really fits together. It's not original. It's not funny. It's not really effectively emotional. It can't really pick a tone either. Like, it's always like changing on serious and silly and serious and silly. It has a bizarrely complicated, like, padded plot for what is generally a really straightforward and, again, generic story. Realistically, this could have been like a 40-minute short film, but they would never make that. And they probably shouldn't have made this anyway. I'm really sorry to everyone involved, but yeah, really bad movie. In a time when original movies are, in fact, struggling somewhat, and original animated movies, especially, and animated projects, especially, are struggling to get off the ground in the U.S. It's just baffling. This is the shit that gets greenlit. The movie about talking shoes that was produced by Mustard! Like, Fucking why? This is a shitty piece of shit. I'm sorry. Sneaks is not good. I'd recommend every other movie on this list except Sneaks, pretty much. Sneaks is the only bad movie I think I put on this whole list. That's because I had to talk about it. Because I've seen like no one else talk about it. And if I didn't at least pass it on, I feel like I'd go insane. I had to talk about this. I had to converse. But seriously. Yeah. Alright. Movies discussed. I did it all. Sorry if this didn't have the best production value of all my videos, but again, out of town. It's like 95 degrees outside right now, so I have like the fans on and everything. So sorry about the noise and whatever, but hey, if you stuck around this long, thanks a lot. I hope you enjoyed the video. And maybe I'll do more Purpock Ponders like this if I end up seeing a lot of stuff or playing a lot of games or whatever. Some like generally collective topic like this where I want to give some time to each subject but not do like an individual race the ramen for all of them. It'd be fun. So yeah, you guys let me know what you thought of this in the comments if you enjoyed it. Let me know what you thought about any of these movies if you saw them. Comment, share, like button, tickle my balls, you know, all that. Smash that like button with your left eye. And, bye. See you guys soon. Peace. Stay safe out there.